Hello and welcome to Bytes of Health, where we hope to take a bite out of your parent worries each day with sound advice and guidance. Every morning, we'll answer a commonly asked pediatric question in 5 minutes or less. I'm Dr. Jess Steier, a public health scientist, and today I'm joined by our amazing pediatrician bestie, Dr. Anthony Porto. Hello, Anthony.
Hi, Jess. How are you today?
All right. So today we are going to talk about lactose intolerance. The clock is ticking, so let's get to it. Anthony, let's jump right in. Is lactose intolerance the same thing as a milk allergy?
This is a question that we get all the time. So they share similar symptoms, but they are different conditions. Lactose intolerance is really a digestive issue, whereas a milk allergy involves the immune system. The key difference is that lactose intolerance won't cause life-threatening conditions or reactions like anaphylaxis.
Got it. That is a very important distinction. So can you shed some light on what lactose actually is?
Lactose is a sugar that's found in milk and dairy products, as well as in a lot of other foods that you wouldn't even think about having that milk sugar, like breads and cereals. And what it is a double sugar. So it needs to be broken down by an enzyme that's found in your small intestines called lactase. By breaking it down, this allows those sugars to be absorbed. But when there's a decrease in that enzyme or a loss of that enzyme, it can lead to lactose intolerance because that sugar is not absorbed and then can lead to other symptoms.
So beyond milk, what other foods might contain lactose?
So it's really present in many food products and even in some medications as fillers. So manufacturers will often add milk or its derivatives to boxed or canned, frozen or packaged and prepared food. So you really need to read labels to identify the source of lactose. And it could include terms where it may say lactose in the ingredients, or it may say milk or whey or other types of things. And those are just things to start looking through to understand that whether or not you should be concerned if you're trying to go on a lactose-free or a lactose-limited diet.
All right, good to know. So what are the key symptoms of lactose intolerance?
So the symptoms really vary based on how deficient the person is and also how much they're consuming and how quickly they're consuming it. So it can range from nausea, belly pain or cramping. They may have bloating or loose stools, gas, and watery diarrhea. The severity really, again, depends on how much they're consuming and how quickly. I often talk to my parents. It's like sometimes ice cream, which maybe consumed more slowly, is better tolerated, or yogurt's more tolerated than, say, a Frappuccino, where you suck that down with a straw very quickly, and that's where you get more symptoms because of that rapidity and the amount of volume that your body is dealing with at that particular time.
Oh, that is so interesting. So if a parent suspects lactose intolerance, how can they confirm it for their child?
Typically, it'll really just be based on the history. Your pediatrician will talk to you and your child to understand if there are other medical conditions that may predispose them to having lactose intolerance. They'll do a family history to see if it runs in the family and try to take a diet history to see if the symptoms that your child is presenting with is related to when they consume a specific type of food. So one approach they may recommend is, how about we eliminate all dairy lactose-containing products for about 2 weeks, see if the symptoms improve, and then slowly introduce these products again into the diet to see if the symptoms return. Sometimes they may want to do what's called a hydrogen breath test to diagnose lactose intolerance, and that may require your child to breathe into a tube, drink some lactose, and then they have you breathe into tubes later on. And what it's looking for is, typically when we exhale carbon dioxide. But if we're lactose intolerant, we're not able to break down lactose. Lactose then gets eaten by bacteria that produce hydrogen, and we get hydrogen in our breath. And that will help your pediatrician figure out whether you do have lactose intolerance.
So, Anthony, word on the street is that lactose intolerance can sometimes be temporary, especially after illness. Is this true?
Yes. So because lactase are found in the tips of your, what's called the villi in your small intestines where food is absorbed, when you have a viral illness, a stomach bug, you can get loss of that lining and you can temporarily lose lactase and then become lactose intolerant. We also see it in other conditions like celiac disease, where you have irritation due to gluten, but because there's irritation in the small intestines, you can lose lactase and then you can get the ability to digest lactose again once you remove gluten from the diet and your intestines heals.
So can infants be lactose intolerant?
Well, I think this is really another question that comes up often because adults acknowledge, I had my third slice of pizza and I'm feeling bloated, but the third slice was worth it. We will get lactose intolerant as we get older, but it's very uncommon for infants to be lactose intolerant. And so babies are born with the right amount of lactase. Although premature infants may not have as much because they're born a little bit earlier, they can usually digest lactose containing formula as well as lactose that's in breast milk. When we think about lactase deficiency in infants, there is one condition called congenital lactase deficiency, which is very, very rare. And this is the one instance where these kids may have lactose intolerance. Remember, breast milk contains lactose, so nearly all infants should be able to tolerate breast milk as well as formula that contains lactose.
So if a mother is lactose intolerant, is it safe for her to breastfeed?
Yes, because we're relying on the children's stores of the enzyme to help break down the lactose. So it's absolutely safe and should have no risk for that baby if they are breastfed.
So how can children get enough calcium if they're lactose intolerant?
Well, the good news, if they are milk drinkers, they can just use lactose-free milk, which would be fortified with the right amount of calcium. There are also other types of foods, including green leafy vegetables, nuts, beans, fish. Orange juice is also calcium fortified, and that might be enough. If you're concerned, you should speak to your child's pediatrician because they may recommend a supplement because the amount of calcium that someone needs will vary based on their age.
So are soy or almond milk suitable substitutes for lactose intolerant children?
So they can be. Some families will make their own almond milk. And when you do that, you don't have enough. There's no fortification, right? But the ones you buy in the stores are typically fortified. These include soy, almond, rice, hemp, and oat milk, which are common ones. Soy milk is rich in calcium and is also high in protein. Almond milk is safe and can have calcium, but is lower in protein. So you really want to say, yes, they can have calcium. They may also be okay for kids who are lactose intolerant. But in terms of your child's global nutritional needs, speak to your pediatrician to make sure that you're choosing the right alternative.
All right. Finally, how is lactose intolerance treated?
So once you diagnose it and realize that it is lactose intolerance, there's really depends on the symptoms. Some children can tolerate small amounts of dairy, while others may need a lactase enzyme supplement before they consume it. I don't know if you ever went to the local ice cream store, but the one near us has a bowl with lactase in it. So taking that 20 to 30 minutes before you eat ice cream would be helpful to prevent some symptoms. Because it's so severe, it may require removing all lactose. So this is where you'll need to speak with your pediatrician or dietitian to understand if you're avoiding some of these foods, how to make sure your child gets all the nutrients that they need.
All right. Well, I learned something. We hope you learned something, and we have lots more to share. You can get your Bite of Health every day, Monday through Friday. If you like what you've heard here, let us know. Leave us a review on Apple and be sure to tell your friends. Remember, there is no single or best way to parent. Parenting is a journey, and we are all just doing our very best. We wish you happy, healthy, and stress-free parenting.